Everyone, welcome to the webinar. Good morning, good afternoon, or even good evening, wherever you happen to be at this moment in time. We have a fabulous panel for you today, and they have promised that unlike so many AI webinars, they're going to get down and dirty and into the specifics during the course of the discussion today. So our topic is AI is rewriting the channel. And basically, we're going to examine how AI is reshaping partner engagement, recruitment, operations, and monetization. But before I dive into the webinar, just a couple of quick slides to start with. The Channel Focus Awards are the most powerful awards for people in our community. They are genuinely based on your nominations and then your votes. Last year, we had thousands of votes for the people concerned, and genuinely, your votes count. The situation we're in at the moment, we are looking for nominations for the Channel Focus Awards and the Women's Leadership Council Awards. One of my team, Margot, you'll see basically putting things in the chat at the moment. We are accepting nominations until the 26th of August. So if you have someone who you think has done something fabulous, go in, nominate them and tell us why they should be nominated. And as always, Channel Focus will take place this year in Carlsbad, California, from the 20th to the 22nd of October. Again, at the moment and until the end of this month, you can register and save $700 as long as you register by the 31st of July. So do take advantage of that. It's a huge saving. We have record registrations for Channel Focus this year, so we are going to have a fabulous group attending the event, and I look forward to seeing everyone there. Again, you'll see the link for that in the chat. And last but not least, a lot of us are under a lot of pressure at the moment, and a lot of women particularly bear that pressure. One of the things we started that I'm very proud of 12 years ago was the Women's Leadership Council. And this is an amazing group. It is women only who basically come together to talk about the issues and also help one another within the channel. And the virtual event is on Tuesday, July the 21st, from 8 to 11:15 Pacific. It is completely free. I can only tell you what I've been told because I am not allowed to attend. It is women only. But basically, the feedback is absolutely extraordinary. It is free, so feel free to join. Feel free to invite women, colleagues, friends, etc., to attend that meeting next Tuesday. And without further ado, I am going to introduce each of our panelists. And basically, I'm going to start with James from Ansira. So, James, tell us a little bit about yourself and Ansira.
Hi, everyone. James Morris. I'm the SVP of Growth and Strategic Partnerships at Ansira. I've been with the organization for roughly 13 years now. If you're not familiar with us, we help brands grow by connecting really the national strategy to a local and distributed execution across complex partner and channel ecosystems. We do that with a platform and a services model that brings together, really, if you think about brand compliant marketing and sales content, incentives, fund management, hyper local marketing, customer engagement, and really that closed loop analytics that you need, no doubt. What's especially relevant to today's conversation is that AI is embedded across that work at Ansira, from content generation and campaign setups to claims, compliance, predictive insights, and workflow automation, which we know partners need. So we're not just talking about it theoretically, we're applying it to those environments and helping brands move faster, stay governed, and drive those measurable outcomes.
Tell us a little bit more about yourself and Mind Matrix.
Harvinder Khera, founder CEO of Mind Matrix, started this company almost 29 years ago. We're proud to be a leader in partner marketing, PRM, partner sales enablement, and we're actually a whole platform is not just like a AI wrapper on top of our old product. We're actually built an AI-powered platform that is bottom up, so you can manage, enable your partners, not just the partners, but also your direct sales teams, the CAMs, PAMs, all on one platform. So proud to be here. I'm excited to talk about how AI is changing this partner landscape.
Great. Tell us a little bit about Spur.
Excellent. Kate Kadai, I'm the managing director of Spur Apply's ecosystem practice. We're a go-to-market focused consulting firm based in Seattle, Washington, and we have over 20 plus years of deep experience in partner strategy. But we're also part of a global AI native SI that has deep technical expertise too. So that lends a really interesting perspective to this conversation specifically as well. So I've had the pleasure of advising clients across many shifts in the last 10 or so years that I've worked in this space. And AI is as revolutionary as anything we've seen. So it's an exciting and dynamic time for partners. I'm looking forward to diving in with my fellow experts today.
Shane, tell us a little bit about yourself and Structured.
Yes. Hi, everybody. Shane Edmonds. I'm the Chief Product and Technology Officer at Structured. I've been with the company a little bit over a year now. I oversee our R&D and product management functions at the company. Structured is a enterprise partner marketing automation platform. Of course, we're AI enabled, and we just recently revamped our entire platform to really embed AI into the core of it all. But one of the things that makes us different from a more traditional PRM is we focus less on the management side of PRM. I think a lot of the folks here today and their companies do a great job at that. But we tend to focus more on the relationship side in terms of engagement, partner adoption, and also making sure that the content is delivered to partners when they need it, and making the execution of campaigns more effective.
Let's start with you. And starting looking at the big picture, AI has moved beyond being a productivity tool. It's no longer just a productivity tool. What are the biggest structural changes you see AI creating within the channel, and those changes that the people on the call should really understand?
Is that to me?
No, it's to Kate, actually.
Oh, sorry about that, Rod. Yeah. So there's so many shifts that are happening right now. A couple of things that are always top of mind for me, though, is rethinking kind of that traditional layer model, right? So land, adopt, expand, renew. That's great, but there's also this transform element that's now present with AI. So it's not just about productivity. It's about fundamentally rethinking your workflows from the bottom up. And that has such a huge impact, right? It's re-architecting your data. It's making sure that everything that you have is agentically consumable, so you can do stuff with the data that you have. So it starts at this deep foundational level and requires you to rethink and rebuild from the ground up. So I think those are both significant structural changes, things that we need to be thinking about beyond just having LLMs available for individual users to use within the enterprise. It's also a huge opportunity for partners.
Bringing you into this, one of the things I saw is that basically I had a meeting with 9 new AI partners. Not a single one of them was actually selling any kind of technology whatsoever. They were consultancy businesses. They were advising clients. The clients were buying the technology. I would also say that on average, they were about 40 years younger than many of the channel partners we meet today. I don't think there was a single person in that group that was over the age of 26. How do you see the partner landscape changing? What do we need to be prepared for? And what are these new types of partners looking for from the vendors?
It's for
Was
me,
that?
Ron.
Oh,
Yep.
Okay,
This
sorry.
is for James. Sorry, am I cutting out? Is everybody
Yeah,
able to
you
hear
were
me?
Yeah,
cutting
just
out.
a
Yeah,
little.
the first part of your sentence is cutting out.
I
Okay.
can that Rod. That was to me, right?
Yes, it was.
Yeah. I think overall the expectations, especially with a younger cohort in some ways, is the focus on the relationship side and the strategy side. This is what these people want to, it's what all of us want to do at the end of the day. And so as there is, when they're selling consultancy, they're not selling technology, no matter what it is, they're looking for these AI tools to stop the disparate nature that we've dealt with SaaS for so long, where you have so many tools, and they're looking for true execution. I think we all started using AI as a thought partner in a lot of ways, and content generation, and that's super helpful. But none of us want to be bogged down with the minutia of these small executional based tasks that take up so much of our day and so much of our bandwidth. So we're starting to see these partners within the existing cohorts or entering the cohorts really start to push and challenge the space to say, how can you make my job easier? And how can you deliver insights that I can execute on very quickly? Again, we've all kind of moved into that Amazon model of wanting expectations and things very quickly. And AI allows us to fulfill a lot of those expectations. So again, it's helping to do that work, and that can run the gamut of from a marketing and sales content perspective, putting it together. How can I target audiences better? But how can I use these tools to be more effective in my selling motion?
Linda, bringing you into that one, what are you seeing in terms of the partner landscapes? How are your customers, your clients responding to that?
I'm sorry, that was for me. I'm sorry, Rod, you were
Good.
cutting off. Sorry, my apologies. Let me
I am
actually.
going to, Sarah, if you could hold this for 2 seconds, I am going to leave and I'm going to rejoin the call in 2 minutes.
Okay. So let me. Do you want me to speak, Rod, or
Yes,
you want me to?
absolutely. Keep going, Harbinder.
Okay, okay. So I want to add one thing here. So, you mentioned some younger folks are joining in. I actually started, a consulting company, AI native company last year. I'm 59 years old, so I tend to disagree with you on that statement. So we're helping companies go AI native. Now, one of the big things that is happening is, what has shifted, now you can glean intelligence out of unstructured data. The future is all about it's intelligence driven. We're all focused on outcome based. From a traditional model, if you look at all the consulting companies, even partners, if you think it's all driving towards outcomes, how we can show outcomes, and now it is actually possible. Now, if you look at in a partner ecosystem, there's a lot of unstructured data was always there. So how you can glean intelligence at scale, and the nice thing about it is continuous. Like if you think about QBRs, if you're doing any partner enablement, it used to be a quarterly business review. Now it is happening. Now it's happening on a continuous basis because data is actually available for you to glean this intelligence. That is changing. Okay, and now everybody is looking at how you can see measurable impact. That was never there before. That's another shift that is happening at industry. Okay. We always relied on structured data and structured data coming from either PRM or CRM and different platforms. And a lot of times this data never got updated. So you never saw that out, the impact in real time. So that is really the big shift that is happening in our industry, where you're seeing a continuous intelligence coming out of the platforms that you can take actions on that on a regular basis.
Harbinder, you mentioned measurable data, measurable outcomes. Give some examples of that in terms of what's being measured and how it's being measured.
So it's a perfect example. When you think about as a CAM, you're looking at, you want to analyze how your partner's sentiment, how your partners are performing, then also your end customers are performing. You had all this data about the customers and the tickets and the sentiment, how partners are engaged, not engaged. You have a lot of unstructured data sitting in partner communications, ticketing information, emails. Now with AI, you can easily harness that intelligence, and you can predict and you can know your customer sentiment, your partner sentiment and engagement in real time. You don't have to wait for this data to show up. And if this data exists in unstructured form in the emails, if one of the conversation that Cam just had with the partner and partner expressed, some negative sentiment, or they're not happy with the product or the feature, or their end customer is not happy with it, that information never surfaced to anybody in the organization. Now you have that insight. Now you can escalate that and to the respective party, and that has changed with in the age of AI.
It's also changing customer behavior too. I love that you're bringing this up, Harbinder, because it's not just, partners who now have access to this unstructured data and are leveraging it for insights and move their business forward in real time. Customers are also purchasing differently. They're going to agents, they're trying to research, and they're taking discovery further digitally without a human in the loop, without going to a partner or a vendor, particularly not a vendor, right? They still see partners as more trusted advisors, but they have more skepticism around vendor because they're equipped with new agentic tools. And guess who matters in terms of unstructured data floating around there on the internet? It's partners. It's the win stories you have out there. It's your own websites. It's the data that you're putting out there into the world. So it makes the partners kind of own visibility strategy and marketing strategy more important than ever for being in the loop for agentically driven buying decisions for customers.
Agreed.
Shane, bringing you into this, how's that changing what the partner is looking for from the vendor? Because let's be frank, prior to AI, no partner ever looked forward to going on any vendor's portal. Let's be honest. AI can change that. How is it changing that? And what's the impact on the partner-vendor relationship?
Yeah, it's a great question. So I think, first and foremost, everybody's busy, right? AI is obviously helping people being more productive and taking care of a lot of tasks that otherwise would be manual. But people want to be as productive as possible, and they're busy, and they want to spend the least amount of time getting the job done, right? So, and a lot of times, and it's unfortunate, there's an imbalance between the amount of resource a partner puts into their channel marketing versus the potential opportunity and revenue that the channel brings in. So they're always resource constrained, or oftentimes resource constrained. And so it's more important than ever that the tooling they use saves them time, and they don't look at it as another task they have to do, right? It's another, pile on their desk that they have to get to, but it's something that's going to help them reduce that pile on their desk. So I think AI is a huge enabler for that. When partners are able to sort of just cut to the chase, if you will, without having to, look around like traditionally, click through pages and web pages and find things and searches and things like that. I think that's what they're looking for now. They want to ask a very targeted question and get a really optimized answer based on that question without them having to dig for that answer themselves.
Jane, give us some examples of the questions that partners are asking. Where are you seeing this being implemented now?
Well, in our product, we feature one of the primary interfaces for partners in our product is a chat conversation pattern. So it's not an assistant that sits on top of a traditional UI, but it is based on a chat. So partners are able to come in and ask questions, and not just ask questions, but also ask for help on their marketing efforts and get advice and consultative information about that. So I think the relationship in terms of partner to vendor when it comes to marketing is shifting to be less transactional and more consultative. And I think vendors who understand that and deliver the tools that allow partners to get that value are the ones that are going to be leading.
I
James?
agree with Shane. If you look at traditional business model, partners were actually delivering labor. Okay, all these years. Now that they have to deliver intelligence and outcomes. Okay, now they have to rely on the vendor to provide them the tools and help them become better advisors. Okay, and the other part is if you're a partner, looking at it from a vendor point of view, they're looking for real-time recommendation, insight, being more proactive so they can provide that information to their customers. Now, there's a big shift that has happened in this space. If you think about customers, even partners have access to all the knowledge. Everybody has access to knowledge nowadays. AI has made that available, that everybody has same access to knowledge and tools. Now, the role of partners is changing. Now, partners have to focus on the value of human touch. But at the same time, they have to become more strategic advisors, helping companies, as Kate mentioned about workflows, looking at business process reengineering, helping their end customers to restructure, redesign the business processes so they can implement these agentic solutions in a better way. So they're definitely looking at the vendors to provide that some level of insight and knowledge and training around that.
I think that's
Yeah, Rod, oh, sorry, go ahead, James.
oh, thanks.
James,
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I think that's really powerful because what we're seeing is, in the partner landscape, you would have this long tail of partners who just weren't performing it where you needed to because you just couldn't focus on them. And so that long tail is getting longer in so many ways because the customer is able to do so much research, to Kate's point, or like they're able to do so much research. So by the time that they're actually reaching the partner and they're looking for that advisor, that consultation, that partner has to be extremely well versed and intelligent on the offering and the solution. And so that long tail is getting so much longer now. So you also have to apply AI on that vendor side to be able to target the right partners at the right time when we think a customer is going to interact with them to ensure that they have that wealth of knowledge, that they're educated, that they're trained. But it also helps so much with your just partner identification and how you start to bucket them in more segmented ways than we did. So again, the long tail gets longer, but we now have the tools to be able to enable and empower them, unlike we did before.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'll add
piggybacking.
to that.
Oh,
I
sorry,
want
go
to
for
say,
it, Jim.
let me just drill down into that for a second. Enable and empower them. Let's get specific. What sort of enablement? What sort of empowerment? What are the partners actually looking for? What makes a difference?
I, for our side, I feel like the enablement and empowerment isn't, for traditionally, it's just been um, a lot of times marketing and sales content. And that's not what they need because, again, the customer's already double clicked into that and gotten the insights that they need then. It's diving in deeper. It's, where a lot of times when you have that partner network and they may have a more technical person, if you're selling, let's say, technology and you have like a solution sales consultant, sales engineer, et cetera, we traditionally saw that they were the most liked person during the sales process. So we're actually seeing a little bit of a transition to, they being the first point of contact when somebody reaches out. You're looking for that deeper level of insight and being able to compare actively against your competitive set. And again, going back to Harbinder's point, a lot of it is immediately what is the ROI on this? What is the value that I'm going to see from this output? And not just the what I traditionally think of as the flashy pieces, but how do I get them that in-depth training and the value-based training and sales coaching that they need? And that can be for tools like Shane's point, like giving the partners tools on the fly to be able to access that information. But it's no longer that I need to train them a mile wide and an inch deep. Like you now have to go much deeper in what your product offering is so that they can be ready at that point of contact from the customer.
Hey, you wanted to come in.
Yeah, well, doubling down on that too, James, like the recency of the information that's being provided to partners matters more and more as they move into that trusted advisor role. If you want them to be able to work with your customers to help define and qualify use cases for them and really work upfront in that pre-sales kind of co-sell piece, they have to know the latest about your product. And if it's evolving rapidly as our, product evolution cycles continue to move more quickly, you have to be able to bring them into those conversations. And that involves a level of trust, totally understood. But that's part of that just-in-time enablement that's required. And it doesn't have to be pretty, right? Some of our clients are just using quick YouTube videos that they share out with the partner community, or just like a little 2 minute something or other, by an engineering team member. It's not polished, but it's exactly what partners need.
To your point on one of the things from the enablement perspective, we're focusing on skills in seconds, skilling of partners in real time. based on how you can quickly create. AI has made that possible. Take the unstructured data on any topic and you can create 2-minute videos, and then you can provide that skilling quickly based on where they're at in the sales and marketing process. So again, that's really is becoming pretty real-time skilling with AI.
And Shane, some more examples, because one of the things that AI should be doing is making a partner's life easier. I was sitting in a meeting and one of the major vendors demonstrated some AI technology that enabled you to call in. You were actually answered by an agent, but you had a real conversation with that agent, and your deal got registered in 3 minutes, or you actually got a response which said, this is why it hasn't been registered. It's either not going to be registered or here's additional information we require. I was sitting next to a partner when that was being demonstrated, and the answer I got from the partner, 2 words: at last. What other things are you seeing that are being delivered that are making those partners' lives easier? And if we can get specific on that would be great.
Sure. Yeah. I guess I'll get specific in a more aggregate fundamental way, because every partner, every ecosystem, every vendor is different, right? So the enabling technologies to help with the sales enablement and marketing are all going to have different flavors, right? But one of the fundamental aspects, and specifically things that we see, is because we have this conversational interface that I talked about earlier. The data that the vendor gets. Well, let me back up a little bit here. In order for the vendor to provide that tooling to partners, they have to understand what the partners need, first of all, right? And in a traditional sense, if you're analyzing clicks and views and abandonment and things like that, you're not necessarily getting the full picture. You're actually getting a very small picture, right? Because if you measure abandonment, why did they abandon? That's something you can't know, right? And with the AI, where partners specifically are asking things like, I need to do X, where X is a very specific thing. As a vendor, you can take that information that your partners they're actually telling you directly what they need. You don't have to infer that from their behavior or their behavior or whatever it is. And with AI, being able to take that, so AI right now, especially these frontier models, LLMs, right? They're language models, and so they work best with language, right? So instead of giving them, raw data and numbers, if you give them conversations that your partners are having with the AI, and you ask the AI to analyze those and get you insights out of those, it's so powerful what that can do for you. And you get straight down to the core of what partners are asking for. And you can map that to what you're doing well and what you're not doing well, or what you're not doing at all. And that'll guide you to what you do need to focus on to help make partners' lives better. But it's like a treasure trove, and that's what we tell our customers is encourage your partners to interact with the AI, because you're essentially reading their minds at that point.
You're dealing with this a lot. How is AI changing the value the customers are looking for from the partner?
Yeah. Well, and can I quickly also give some tangible examples of really cool stuff that we've worked with our clients on recently? So a couple of things that have changed partners' life drastically, like a configuration app, right? Where it's like, what's this deal? Like, what kind of licensing types can I use? Something that's like really smooth rather than like an Excel calculator or something that partners have to build themselves. Having a being able to do like a more effective co-sell. So being able to be surfaced effectively for the right opportunities based off of their unique, enriched kind of profile. That's been another needle mover. And yeah, going back to the chat of what partners are actually putting in, that's a game changer. But going back to customers, I think one of the things that we're seeing growth on is this enablement and training piece, where customers want to learn more and they're really looking to partners to deliver that too. So not just technical expertise, but work with both our business and technical users to understand how to use this tool and empower us. Because, a lot of people are hungry to learn more, but there's also a little bit of fear, uncertainty, and doubt there. So that's a big customer expectation. Another one that we're seeing a lot of is focus on outcomes, which I think was mentioned before. Harbinder, I think, brought that up. Like, don't lose sight of the ROI for the customer. And partners who know the economics of AI and can help design cost-effective solutions and figure out how to optimize token consumption so that customers aren't surprised with unexpected overages or crazy token usage when things go live. That's also a huge value add.
I think, Kate, one of the important parts about ROI, how do you measure it? Okay, and this is one of the fundamental problems people are having in the AI world. That's why you see people are using tokens and spending millions of dollars without seeing the ROI. I think the biggest challenge has been these AI systems have been implemented in silos. Nobody has really thought about end-to-end workflow, connecting the dots. So when you really want to enable a partner ecosystem, you got to think about the ecosystem in entirety. And so you can measure ROI. So you have to see how the data is coming in, how the CAMs are using it, how the partners are using it, different types of partners using it, how the customer data is feeding into this. You got to look at the data fabric that connects all the dots, especially when you're thinking about partner enablement. Because if you don't really think about data in entirety, you're going to have the silos of AI implementation and you cannot measure ROI. The important part of measuring ROI is, it's really, you got to really understand what task has been performed, how they've been performed, who is performing them, what AI technology is utilized behind the scene, performing these tasks to really effectively measure ROI. That is the fundamental shift that everybody has to make. That means you have to really think about becoming AI native, not just implementing AI, but thinking about AI native. That is really one thing I want everybody to walk away from it. If you want to implement AI and want to see ROI, try to become AI native first. That means focus on the data across the entire organization. Look at the workflows, entire organization. Look at the processes, entire organization.
Harbinder, I saw this amazing. I wish I could credit it. I don't know it off the top of my head. I saw it on LinkedIn yesterday, but it talked about how you would never set OKRs at a bottom up level in an organization. You always do it top down, but how so many organizations, and if we think about channel ecosystems, you're allowing the partners to go out, find these AI tools and try to use them, but they're using it so disparately in silos and it's just not effective. And I find the data piece that you're mentioning to resonate with that so well is that is one of the biggest problems that we see is just that it's so disconnected and there's no leadership at a high up level trying to define that for the organization.
Yeah, I think I'll add to that. I think that I agree with everything that was just said here. Siloing is a big problem that still needs to be addressed. And another problem is sort of the shadow AI problem, where if you're not providing the formalized tools for people to use, they're going to use other tools, and they're going to do it outside of a sort of protected or trusted circle, right? So they're going to some external tool you don't know about. They're putting data in there and they're getting some output that may or may not be accurate or correct or grounded. And so that's another big problem. But I also see when it comes to looking at partners in AI enablement, AI is a great enabler, but it's also a leveler, right? So it's getting to the point where everybody has access to these frontier models from the providers, and they're 20-person teams are able to do things 100-person teams or more can do because of AI in many cases, or execute at the speed of those things. And so how do you rise above that, right? How do you just not become the level that everyone else is at? And I think from a partner perspective, it has to do with the data. You have to move into understanding. So I think the proprietary sort of value that a partner is going to have is what they know about their customer and what the customer wants, as opposed to how well they can execute things, right? So using AI to enable you to understand that is key. And then there's a whole, hopefully we get to it later on, but there's sort of this information asymmetry where vendors are providing a lot of data and content to partners, but they're not getting it back, right? And again, I hope we can talk about it later, but I think there's a huge opportunity for vendors to encourage partners to share more data with them and be able to leverage that data to enable them even better.
We've traditionally segmented partners based on relationships, technical capability, services. How does AI change the way we should be looking at that differentiation? How do we understand what we're looking for? How do we find the partners that meet those criteria? And what are those criteria we should be looking for today?
Who was that to, Rod? Sorry, it cut out.
That was to Kate. Am I
Oh,
breaking up again? Or
Yes,
yes,
yes.
it's all good. We'll get there. Such a good question. In part, I think, and this is a continuation of a trend we've already seen, modern partners do so many things, and they don't fit into those rigid route to market boxes that we had before. So the more that we can provide flexibility to partners and make it really easy for them to do business with us without encountering our own internal silos as vendor organizations, the better off we'll be, right? If they have to work with 5 different teams because they have 5 different ways that they're monetizing, right? They have a managed service practice, a professional service practice, they resell, et cetera, and we're providing a disjointed experience, that's really negative for partners. So there's a lot of work we can do to kind of catch up with a modern partner. That being said, though, Rod, to your point, I think some of the best or the leaders in from in the technology space are designating partner capability based off of things like specializations or authorizations or other things that are unique to corners of the product portfolio, industry expertise, and technical expertise of various kinds. And then there's some amount of verification around that. That makes it a little bit easier to find partners within an ecosystem, less based off of those traditional rigid route to market boxes, more based on capability, which is what customers actually care about today. And reps too, who are looking for partners to co-sell with. That being said, an interesting trend that we're seeing, so, traditionally you kind of have this distinct like resell services, technical kind of boxes that you're working with at a high level. And we're actually seeing merging between the services and technical side, right? With productized offerings, agents, repeatable use cases. Service partners are creating product-like things. And product partners are doing more types of services with forward deployed engineers and so forth. And that's awesome to see. It's, again, an evolution of this piece. And the best thing that we can do is to make sure that we're getting resources available to anyone who wants it and make them queryable and easy to find via, agentic layers to help partners access what they need when they need it.
Can I add to what just Kate said? Because I'm living in another world with my consulting, AI consulting company. You're absolutely right. I think that one of the most important thing is if you think about what really makes a good partner in the age of AI, obviously it's the value of relationship. That goes without the value of human touch. Partners have it, they had it, and I hope they continue to make that better. Okay. I think the important part here comes down to customer context, the knowledge. More you know about that customer, because that knowledge is your moat. Because otherwise, everything else is available in LLM. So you really need to, if people who really understand their vertical, the customer, and bring that knowledge as context, that's the key. Now, and also when you think about it's not the technology play. It's really when we're trying to help companies, I'm trying to recruit people to work for us, is we're looking at people who understand business, sales, marketing, finance, who understands the business. So you got to know that, because that helps you understand to solve customer problems. More importantly, to help build workflows, information flows across the organization. And that is the kind of partner you want. Okay. It really comes down to then AI governance. People understand security, governance, how the data is managed within the organization. And then it really comes down to execution excellence, because that really defines your outcome. And partners who understand this are going to be the winners of the future. And that's really what people are looking for.
James, if I can bring you in for a second. I'm looking at the partners. I'm looking at partners in an AI economy. Traditionally, we've looked at relationships. We've looked at that sort of thing. What am I looking for today? Am I looking for clearly AI capability? Am I looking for real vertical market expertise? So a partner that really understands my customer's business. How's it changing what I'm looking for, because my feeling is this is going to kill the generalist.
I agree. Vertical expertise certainly, like just as kind of Harbinder hit on, you're going to see that expectation. You know my pain points as the customer. You know what I'm experiencing because there's an expectation we're going to get deeper very quickly into this. Which will be interesting too, just as an aside, how do we see this impact? How do we see sales cycles impacted by this? Do we see this quicken the process because we're getting in deeper and so much more is happening up front before we ever touch that customer from a partner perspective? But I do think you're going to see the more vertical piece. And then your initial question there about AI and how to use that. I'd say yes about anything for this is that anyone who knows how to use AI tool sets in a governed fashion are going to move faster and be more aligned with the buyer at that point, and be able to utilize those tools than someone who's not. And you could look at that for any industry and any person at this point. We can all kind of attest to. I have a group of friends that's shocking to me still to this day that they don't use AI in their normal day-to-day work. It's just preposterous to me. And then I know other people who are in their field who are using AI who are excelling. So I think we're going to see the same thing here. But certainly, Rod, that vertical expertise is going to become crucial to this. And again, for those partners who don't have the vertical expertise necessarily, it's going to fall on the vendor to help enable that and empower that very quickly to get them up to speed so that they can hit on those pain points. But we're going to see that partner landscape shift quite a bit.
Okay. And Shane, do you want to come into that? The partner of the future. What's the vendor going to be looking for? What does that partner look like?
Um, so I think, we've said it here multiple different ways, but partners that are going to be more valuable to vendors, I think, are the ones that execute their AI strategy really well, that understand customers, right? And that has to do with being able to access data and being able to provide data to vendors to help them, understand the customers as well. Um, and there's, I think, from a vendor perspective, I think you have to. I would say at some point we're going to have to stop looking at partners as tiers or programs or groups and start looking them as each one has an individual set of opportunities. And how do you tap into those opportunities? And you can't continue to sort of blast out, by if you have cohorts that are, based on company size or region or whatever it is, those are going to provide much lower conversion and ROI than being able to get down to tap into this intelligence that the partners do have about customers and what they need and help them target those, right? So, quit thinking about buckets and start thinking about how you treat each partner as an individual partner that you can help.
And Kate, I'm looking for these partners. I'm looking for AI capable partners. I'm looking for partners with deep vertical expertise. I'm looking for partners who can generate outcomes for my customers. How do I find them?
It's such a great question. Well, the good news is AI can actually help with some of this. One of the things that's kind of interesting to do is to start poking around, not just so, partner locators are always a useful source of information to figure out who is out there in the ecosystem. So hyperscaler partner locators have historically been one of the largest places where you can look for just kind of the cross section of who's doing what where. But now we've started to get frontier labs coming online too with their own partner programs and partner locators. And so it's now providing a really interesting viewpoint into that kind of niche of the fastest growing partners, those boutique service partners who are AI native, and RSIs who are more dynamic than even, GSIs and are doing a lot of really nifty stuff. And so I think actually increasingly you can, pull up your own LLM and start getting it working on partner locators and go finding and triangulating the right set of expertise. So that's one piece. But then, again, in other places, start showing up where those partners are. And they are at, kind of these leading edge industry events and so forth, focused around the frontier labs, and those who are making moves in the AI space.
And Harbinder, AI is automating an awful lot of activities traditionally performed by the channel organization. Which part of today's partner operating model is going to disappear and which are going to become more important?
That's a good question. If you think about all the day-to-day stuff people do, campaign execution, proposal generation, reporting, static reporting, now it's going to become more predictive reporting, email, all the content creation. Everything that you see today is going to go. Okay. It is all disappearing as we speak. We're, how we do deal regs, that the traditional way, as you talked about, you can talk to a system and do a deal reg, or you can do a deal reg now via email or Slack, or different ways you can do deal reg. Opportunity scoring. If you think about how you score your opportunities, how you do QBRs, the traditional ways are going away as we speak. Okay. Now, there are a lot of tools that how we do today, that all things we do, they're going away. Okay. Everything is becoming hyper personalized based on who you are, number one, the actions you perform based on your activities, based on the activities you perform outside the platform. So, for example, if as a partner, if I'm performing certain activities on LinkedIn, if I'm pushing certain content based on those behaviors, now the content is being served to you, not just in the portal, the where you're at, based on your activities, so you can be more effective. So personalizing your journey, and then also what other partners in the ecosystem are doing who have a similar profile. So now that is one part of it. And one of the points that Shane talked about, the traditional tiering, that is actually going, it's also going as we speak. Now, think about those modern tiers based on outcomes. People who are creating different values for your customer or ROI. So now that is being reshaped as we speak. No more static QBRs, no more static reports. Everything is changing as we speak. Now, what becomes more valuable is strategic consulting, as we talked about, and more human in the loop. That is a huge area of opportunity. Human in the loop, people who are responsible for managing agentic systems. One of the things that Kate, you asked Kate about, how do you find these partners? It's really hard to find partners who can do all of this stuff. We're actively training people as we speak who understand context engineering, prompt building agents, understands all aspects of business, who understand data, who understand how LLMs work, who can understand ROI. We're teaching people A to Z because it is hard to find people who understand all of it. So that is really one of the key challenges everybody is facing in this industry. And that is really building a scalable program, training program. That is the key here.
Okay, we're almost out of time. So a bit of crystal ball gazing for everyone. And I'll start with you, Shane. If you look ahead 2 years, what's the technology channel going to look like, and how will it differ from today?
Yeah, it's a great question. I get asked this quite a bit, actually. And, with the pace at which things are changing today, especially with AI, 2 years will be here tomorrow, right? So I'm not going to, I'll steer away from trying to predict some specific revolution and talk more about shifts that I think are fundamental, right? We talked earlier about the treating partners as individuals and being consultative to them, right? Today, I think if you can do that, partners think that's great. In 2 years, partners are going to expect that. There's no way around that. That's going to be a table stakes expectation, right? You're going to have to treat them as individuals and not in groups. I think, Kate talked about this earlier as well. Marketing, I don't think necessarily goes away or diminishes or increases. It just changes, right? People are doing discovery inside of AI now. So traditional search engines, all of those things are becoming much less important. If you look at the younger generation we talked about, they're primarily asking AI for answers and not finding, going out and proactively trying to find them themselves. They're just asking to be, for consultation about what their questions are. So that's a fundamental shift. And then one of the things that I mentioned earlier is the leveler and the enabler of AI. I think you also have to look at partners, not just individually, but you also have to realize that small partners are going to be able to win just as big as large partners are, right? So that's even more incentive or reason, motivation to not treat them as buckets. Oh, they're in the SMB space or whatever it is, right? AI is going to change that. People are going to play in different spaces, and AI is going to enable that. So, I think those are if I had the two biggest takeaways for 2 years. The vendor relationship to partners gets consultative and individualized, and marketing fundamentals change. They don't go away, they don't increase, they don't decrease, they just change to be inside of AI.
And we've got a few minutes left, so I'm going to finish with one question and the same question for everyone. And on this one, Kate, I'm going to start with you. We need to start challenging what we're doing today. We can't just we just continue on at the same rate, doing the same old stuff we've always done before. So if there's one assumption that people on the call should start challenging in their organizations today, what would that be?
I'd start with don't leave the layer model as is and assume it's just like that. You're driving for a renewal. This is about transformation. AI is about transformation. And that's the brilliance of it. It's more about the users itself than the technology. We're used to talking about feeds and speeds and how cool this feature is. AI is all about outcomes and how it transforms the user's experience. So don't stop at layer, think about transformation too. And partners, because they're so close to the users, are your key people for actually making that transformation happen.
So, and the same question for you, Harbinder. What should people be challenging? Which assumption should they be going, hang on, we need to look at this?
I would say is you got to look at the data. How you collecting your data today, how you organizing it, that is number one. Number two, look at the current processes. You can't slap AI over current process. You have to re-engineer, think about process differently, because it really also involves change management. People using AI, they got to think differently. So you got to think about change management and the business process that you have outlined today. And that is the key. Because if you think about in the age of AI, the most of the channel will become autonomous. Everything humans will be, or partners will be managing people and agents. So we will have worker agents that are working in the age of AI. So we got to think differently. That starts with data, and I would say business processes.
James, same question to you.
I'd say a lot of people think now that their traditional channel programs need to the AI tools need to meet the channel programs and they need to keep them the same. Where I would challenge is that channel programs really need to change and evolve because of AI tools. There's so much more capability out there. Don't limit your current existing programs. Basically go find the right tools that can scale this out for you that you haven't been able to do things before traditionally.
Yeah, I guess I would consolidate everything here into one main headline for me as an executive. It would be, stop asking how big when you look at your partner ecosystem, right? And start focusing on how intelligent your partners are, how much data they have, and can they share that with you? I think if you do those things, you're going to be ahead of the curve and be prepared to enable them and give them what they need.
Yes. Harbinder, James, Shane, Kate, thank you so much. Time's just flown by, but some great information for people on the call. Really, really appreciate you giving the time and the knowledge to everyone that's been on the call. Thank you so very much. And as the webinar closes out, everyone will see a survey. If you could please just spare 2 minutes to complete that survey. Your feedback is very, very important to us. Again, Harbinder, James, Shane, Kate, thank you so very, very much.